This video is brought to you by our good friends at Ridge. Their incredible wallet. It's light, sleek, and industrial. Plus, it doesn't awkwardly bulge out of your back pocket because it goes into your front pocket. Now is the time for you to upgrade your wallet. I want you to check this out. Ridge wallets hold up to 12 cards, plus all the cash you need. There's over 30 colors and styles to choose from, including carbon fiber and burnt titanium. It is the best wallet you can buy, and you don't just have to take my word for it, because there's over 30,000 five-star reviews. I was skeptical at first, but once you try it, you'll never go back to your old wallet. And guys, there's no pressure. Test it out for 45 days. If you don't love it, send it back, get a full refund. When you decide to keep it, there's a lifetime warranty. Go to ridge.com/Chael and be sure to use the promo code Chael. That's going to get you 10% off with free worldwide shipping and returns. Or just click on the link below. Rakhmonov, Kazakhstan. Guys familiar? Rakhmonov from Kazakhstan has had 15 fights. I'm not very good at this. I got to look this stuff up. For you to be so good that I have your memory, your record memorized, I could not tell you guys my record. And I'm not trying to be funny. I might get you close. You give me 3 chances, I might get it. This guy has 15 wins. He has 15 stoppages, 3 of which are in the UFC. And of those 15 fights, all of which end either by knockout, technical knockout, or submission, he only saw the 3rd round once. Like, there's something real special with this gentleman, but he does not have the media sensation that, say, Chimaev does. They're in the same weight class. They're both 170-pounders, which is why I bring that up. Chimaev has set the world on fire. He's had 2 fights at 170 pounds, stopped both guys. He had 2 other fights within the organization at 185 pounds, stopped both guys. Still a collection of 4 fights. This dude has had 15 fights. I get that they're not all in the UFC, but 3 of them were in the UFC, and he stopped absolutely everybody, and it's hard for this guy to get a headline. Now, all of a sudden, Rock has called for a fight with Neil Magny. I feel very confident sitting here and telling you guys he's going to be fighting Neil Magny. Only because I haven't heard any other better idea for either guy. And if there's anything that we know about Neil Magny, is Neil Magny will not turn down a fight. Neil Magny is just looking around waiting for somebody to say his name. And I feel like you would learn a lot about Rakhmonov when you put him in there with a guy who we know. And it's not to say that he's been in there with hand-picked guys, but it is fair to say that they've been lesser known. Cowboy Oliveira comes to mind. Cowboy got guillotine choked by Rakhmonov within the UFC, but that might be the only name that would really resonate with you guys, and then whatever opinion you came to after that, that would be a big deal if you fought Neil Magny. Like, hear me out on this. When I say we would know everything we need to know about Rakhmonov if he fought Neil Magny, win or lose, but we would know exactly where he stands. We would know what those 15 undefeated matches meant. We would know what all these stoppages are all about. We would get it. If he won 2 rounds and lost 1 round, or lost 2 rounds and won 1 round, if it was a good fighter, as a close fighter, he dominated, we would know what we need to know. Juxtapose that against Gilbert Burns versus Chimaev. I feel as though we will know exactly. You got a top 10 list? Where should Chimaev go? You got this moving finger, and then some committee known as the experts finally just bring their finger down until the crowd quit screaming, that's too high or that's too low. We would be able to rank Chimaev very accurately as a community as soon as he's done fighting Gilbert Burns. And that ranking's not going to be bad. If Chimaev was to lose all 3 rounds, but they were competitive, we'd have somewhere in the top 10 for him to go. If he won 1 round and lost 2 rounds, we'd have somewhere in the top 10 for him to go. If he was to beat Gilbert Burns, as opposed to if he was to finish and or dominate Gilbert Burns, which isn't always the same thing. You can finish a guy that you did not dominate. Just by example, Jared Cannonier was losing a fight where he finished Derek Brunson, and Cannonier gets a world title fight on the back of it. I'm just sharing for you the way that the fight goes. We'll know everything that we need to know, and I think that that's true with Rakhmonov. You get Rakhmonov in there with a guy who we all know, who we know what to expect, and that we all respect, that we know how hard it is to beat this guy, how hard it is to blanket this guy, how hard it is to knock Neil Magny down, how hard it is to pass his guard, how hard it is to get into a precarious position, how hard it is to ultimately make him say uncle should the fight go to that. We're going to know about all that we need to know. I've been a little surprised that when you have these 2 up-and-coming athletes whose paths sound a lot alike, Rakhmonov's path and Chimaev's path, it sounds a lot alike, But those two are not the same guy. If you had to go and fill up a building and you get your, right, it's like playing kickball and you get to choose your player, everybody in the world is going to choose Chimaev. But their records are a little bit more similar. Their history, how they came up through grappling, what got them inspired with them MMA, some of the gyms and the philosophies and their training methods, all the way to what got them a passport and landed them in the States, ultimately with the UFC. They're very similar. And you would think guys like this paths would cross, but it's actually the similarities that are keeping them apart. Hear that expression, opposites attract? There's a lot of truth to that when it comes to matchmaking in MMA. Rakhmonov has to find a way to get that special sauce, and he does not demand it. He's one of those guys. I will tell you what, if I ever had 15 wins in a row anywhere, I was fighting down at the Roseland Theater, I'm fighting in the YMCA, I'm fighting in the back of Matt Hume's gym. If I would have put 15 in a row together, you'd have heard from me. You guys would have known it. If I finished 15 men in a row, regardless of who they were, come hook or crook, however I got in, if I made weight 15 times in a row, I did everything perfect 15 times in a row, you're going to hear about it. And Rakhmonov is just not one of those guys. That's all right. We have an obligation too. We want and we encourage a guy to come out and tell his story, but when a guy does a very good job, we help him. We grab the reins at some point and we come out and we tell the story for him. But you are seeing the difference within storytelling. The number one thing that I talk to you guys about over here at Bad Guy Inc., I come to you with the importance of having a story. And the number one thing that I get pushed back on from you guys is that I'm wrong. It's the punches and the kicks that matter. And the punches and kicks are all that you care about. I'm clearly right. I'm trying to prove that I'm right. I'm trying to get you to concede that I'm right. I don't need you to say I'm right for me to be right. Of course I'm right. But it's pretty good evidence that I just brought you that you have two guys from the same weight class, similar geographic locations, similar age, similar experiences in an organization. One guy with twice the fights. Chimaev's had 7 or 8 in his life. Rock has had 15. All these finishes, all these beautiful things, very similar pedigree. Looks to be just as dangerous standing as he does on the ground, at least if you look at his Fight Finder record over there at SureDog. You can see the difference in one guy having a story and one guy getting his story told. When people want to push back on Chimaev and say that he's a media sensation, that's true. Chimaev is to headlining status, to feature bouts on pay-per-views, to possibly one win away, to being in a world title fight. He is where he is, not because of his skills, but because of the media. That's true. That doesn't mean they don't overlap. That doesn't mean that the fans don't know what they're looking at. That doesn't mean that the viewing audience has to see something 10 or 15 times to be convinced. Doesn't mean that Chimaev isn't exactly where he belongs. But the only reason he is giving this opportunity with only 2 wins in a division, and we're led to believe that his 3rd time within a division within the Organization of Ultimate Fighting Championship is a number 1 contenders bout, that's because of the media. That's a good thing. Chimaev did something right. I get to check in on Chimaev anytime I want because he's on YouTube. I get to check on Chimaev anytime I want because he posts on Instagram. I get to check in on Chimaev anytime he wants because he's got some deal going with his buddies where they all talk about one another. There's power in numbers, and this group and this team are forming their own little media conglomerate and getting the word out there. That's great. But you're seeing how well that pays off. The interest in Chimaev is not just that he punched Charles Merchant in the face, and it wasn't just that he took somebody down on Fight Island and he turned around and came back. It's that willingness. It's here I am. It's the story. It's the journey. Look, guys, I'm driving this truck and there's plenty of room in the back. Hop on. Come along for the ride. I don't know if they're all going to be wins. I don't know if they're going to be losses. I don't know if we're going to hit a bump in the road, but I hope that you come along the journey. And I will give you enough information. I will feed you enough times, a day, a week, a month, in the form of entertainment to keep you captivated and keep you coming back for more. And we can go along and do and try to do this together. It's very important the way that you go about it. It's very important if you are the principal, the athlete here, that you bring people along for the journey. You can't have what's called a bandwagon. And every athlete will get a bandwagon, but people fall off bandwagons. Now you're only as popular as the outcome of your last fight. If your last fight was not a victory and your next fight is a main event of a pay-per-view, you're the kind of guy that needs to be studied. You're the kind of guy that got it right. You're the kind of guy that can remain the boss even after a loss.